Brandon, riding a motorcycle is a lot of fun.
I agree.
Isn't it? It's very fun. We spend a lot of time on track, but I know a lot of you guys spend a lot of time on the streets, and that's where I come from as well too. But riding a motorcycle in traffic can be kind of tricky, can't it?
Absolutely, and I'm by nowhere near the best, which is actually why I wanted to have this discussion today, because I wanted to see not only the differences that me and you may have in riding in the street, but also hopefully get together some pointers for the viewers to hopefully take away from.
Yeah, so in today's video, we're gonna talk you guys through the kind of stuff we think about to help us stay safe in traffic and ride our motorcycles without getting injured while we're out there. So stick around, we got a bunch of great points for you guys today. So I think the first thing we got to talk about, and you'll see this a lot online, it's just being situationally aware and present when you're on your motorcycle. Right, Brandon?
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing more that you can do than you can't phase out and just be lost in it.
No.
I know that's kind of all what we're searching for, but in traffic, the specific thing that we're looking for is you have to be aware of the surroundings.
Yeah, situations change all the time, right? And you need to be aware of what's going on. You need to be aware of if you're coming up to an intersection, who's turning left, who's turning right, is it a yellow light, is it a green light? Should you be covering your brake? Should you be trying to find an area that you need to be at? If you're in a highway situation, you know, how fast are people going? Do you have enough space between everybody? Being a good street traffic motorcyclist, if you can use that phrase, is being aware of everything that's around you, I would say.
Exactly. And for me, the biggest thing is through that whole thing is staying relaxed. That's the biggest thing I have to do, is because I'm never very comfortable when I ride on the street. I try not to, but I always have to stay relaxed and keep moving through it, breathe, make sure I have that space, make sure my hands aren't getting too tight and stuff like that, and wasting energy that I don't need to waste on keeping the motion moving. Yeah,
so that's a racetrack technique, right? Where like you're minimizing energy usage, you're trying to be efficient on the bike, but you can apply that to the street too. You know, if you're riding tense, if you're riding angry, if you're riding tired, you're not gonna be riding your best. Your reaction times are gonna suffer, your awareness is gonna suffer, and ultimately you're just gonna be more prone to having an accident, I would say.
And it just goes down to even the simple things, like even in traffic and you hit a light, just giving yourself an area to where, like me personally, I always pull off to the side of a car. I'll be still behind that car, but I'll be looking at their tail light just right here on the right hand side. And that's just because if I can't always see behind me, I'm not gonna look behind me at a traffic stop, at a light. If that guy's not paying attention and decides to rear end me, I don't want to be squished between two cars. I would rather be thrown off to the side of two cars. That's just where my mind goes. And always personally just giving yourself an out in any situation, not only at a light, but in traffic as well, I feel like is the biggest things into helping you stay relaxed. Yeah,
having an escape path, knowing, you know, you could go off to the shoulder and do other stuff like that is definitely the way you want to go when you're riding in traffic. But yeah, like if you're a beginner rider, you got maybe like a month or two under your experience, you're about to get started motorcycling, you know, those first couple of months are really where you're most at risk because there's so much happening, right? You're still learning how to operate this machine. You're having to deal with traffic. You're learning how to shift gears. Your experience will increase. And as Brandon says, you will become more relaxed. I think the most experienced riders out there can ride kind of zen, relaxed, fully in control, and not doing too much, which is the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is, honestly guys, the easiest way to stay safe in traffic is just don't speed. I know there's a super popular quote out there, and I know it's gonna end up in the comments where it's like, oh, speed never killed anyone, stopping suddenly did, but that's just like really stupid, honestly. I'll give you guys some numbers on this, okay? If you're moving at 80 miles per hour, you will be covering 117 feet per second. Whereas if you're moving at 40 miles per hour, you will be covering 73 feet per second. That's a big delta right there, right? And if you consider reaction times to go and stop, right, you'll be covering 234 feet if you're moving at 80 miles per hour for 2 seconds when you go to grab the brake lever versus covering 146 feet if you're going at 40 miles per hour. That's a delta of 88 feet.
That's a big range that's longer than multiple 18-wheelers that you're covering before you have a time to do anything about it, basically.
And look, I know motorcycles are fast, even the little ones go fast, but if I can just give you one takeaway from this video, just try not to excessively speed, and you will probably put yourself in a position where you can ride much safer.
Yep, absolutely. I completely agree.
Yeah, and I think obviously with more power and speed, I think knowing how to use your brakes is big too, right? If you're going to be piling on speed, you should have, like you always talk about, an escape path, a route. You should know what's happening before you pile on that power, so you have distance and gaps to close it down. Because I'm not gonna lie, I do it all the time. I like to ring out bikes. We literally did it yesterday. We were riding around doing dumb things, but you have to have the gap and the distance to do it.
Absolutely. There, we tried to give ourselves at least as much room as physically possible that we could to give us a space to do dumb thing.
Yeah.
But that goes back to being familiar with the route that you're taking and the bike that you're on. All these points we try to pile together, and because they help so much. And we're familiar with the route that we were taking, that we did this, so we knew exactly what turn was coming up. And in some cases, we always go over that area before turning around and coming back over that area, so we know exactly what's going on the pavement, and whether there's debris there or anything, so we know exactly what's coming up. So now that's less information that we have to process live, because we already have it, and we now give ourselves that out, or even more reaction time and brain power to dedicate to other things to keep ourselves as safe as possible. And again, all that work is being put into the 20 seconds that we do that dumb thing for.
Yeah.
And then we're back to normal. We're behind that Honda Civic that's definitely in our way.
Yeah.
And we're just sitting there. We're chilling, we're talking, we're having fun. We're going to lunch wherever we may be going.
Yeah.
And we're within our realm of, especially the law.
Yeah, I never realized that. Where really it's a lot of prep work just to get that little bit of fun, you know? Because if you go out and just speed everywhere, you're really asking for it.
Exactly.
You know, you're not gonna have a good time.
You're rolling the dice a lot of the time.
So another thing I think a lot about, Brandon, honestly, is blind spots when I'm riding a motorcycle. In a car, it's something you're taught in your driver's ed and all that, but I think on a motorcycle it's even more important, because bikes really do just disappear.
Yep.
You know, drivers are not really trained to look for them here in the States, and depending on where you are, you know, if you're on some cool blacked out bike or something like that, you literally could just completely disappear in a person's vision.
Especially at night. That's the big thing.
Especially at night.
A lot of these bikes are daily commuters for people. So
Yeah.
at night is where they're gonna be ridden sometimes, and you do disappear. I'm guilty of it, where I even try to look out for bikes and they just disappear.
Yeah.
They're so small.
Yeah. As a motorcyclist, I have times where I unfortunately have cut someone off on a bike, and I was like, oh my God, I feel so stupid. And the guy's probably like, frickin' cager. And I'm like, I'm literally a motorcyclist. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. But you know, we all make mistakes. But the thing I want to tell you too is, you know, motorcycles, because they're smaller and more efficient through moving through traffic, use that to your advantage. You know, don't put yourself in a position where you're just like stuck between a bunch of cars.
Yeah.
I would rather like move through some cars, build a big gap, and just be on my own, because it's much less likely for people to hit me if I have a big gap and I'm off on my own, rather than if I'm stuck between a bunch of cars. It really kind of stresses me out as a motorcyclist if I'm like just sitting and there's like 9 cars around me.
And to do it as safely as possible, to do those things where, I mean, I know in some places you're allowed to, you know, zipper through and go
filter
through,
and all that.
go through all the middle of the traffic, but do it as safely as possible. Don't be those people that just, you know, up right in front of a car and you can clearly see that they're accelerating and all this other stuff. Don't put yourself in another situation that relies on someone else to not do something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So we're talking about blind spots and vision, and I actually have something I wanted to talk about with visions. So having great motorcycle on a vision is imperative, and that's why we actually swapped this clear windshield on our R6, because we had the squid mod over here, and I don't know about you guys, but I cannot see out of this thing at all. So we had to trash it because we need good vision. And with that, you know, being able to see a clear line of sight when you're on your motorcycle is super important as well. And we talk about knowing the route and all these things, and all these come together to have you have a rock form system on your motorcycle. They are a proud sponsor of the channel. They have been for a long time, and one of the reasons we like them so much, being able to quickly put your phone on your motorcycle mount over here is going to mean that you don't have to keep grabbing your phone and checking directions, pulling off to the side. You can quickly just glance down, see your navigation, and look back up. So That's gonna keep your vision in check when you're on your motorcycle. If you're a fan of the channel and want to support us, hit the link down below and check out rockform.com. Use the code YN25 to get yourself 25% off of all their products over here. They've been a long time supporter of the channel, and we truly do appreciate them. Why don't you go and show your support for them by clicking that link down below. Use that code YN25 to get yourself 25% off anything Rockform related. And Brandon, I know you're a big fan of being able to see on your motorcycle, right?
You know, it is arguably one of my more favorite things. And I, like many people, I mentioned this before, I want to be as relaxed as possible, and you have to be comfortable to do that. Whether it be on a Ninja 400 or even a ZX4. My personal favorite is the H2 at this point. But it's all about you. It could be on whatever bike, R6, Turbo Busa, any of these bikes. As long as you put yourself in a situation to learn as much as possible, whether it be in the rain, the snow, practice emergency braking, you want to put yourself in a place to practice these things. A parking lot, a racetrack, even a dirt track. Depends on what bike you have, obviously. The more experiences you can expose yourself to, the safer rider you can become. And all of these points can be much more natural to you. You won't even have to think about them.
And guys, that's a great point. Brandon's talking about building experience. Go out there, ride your motorcycle in all kinds of different places. Naturally, you will become that confident, responsible, and safe rider. You'll just build that natural experience of riding, and you'll feel really good on your bike. But those are some of our tips to stay safe in traffic. Let us know in the comments if you have some other things. This is a community here. Let's build each other up. Let's get each other better on our motorcycles. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.